Gophers, they hold on in an absolute thriller versus USC. Final score 24-17, breaking it all down. Coming up next, Locked On Gophers Postcast.
You are Locked On Golden Gophers Postcast, part of Locked On Minnesota on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
What's going on? Back in the lab, back at it. Another Gophers Postcast episode right here on the Locked On Sports Minnesota Network. That's your team every day. Got myself, Luke Inman, at Luke_Spinman. We got Gophers Hall of Famer Ron Johnson, host of the Ron Johnson Show each and every Tuesday. Follow him on X if you haven't already, at 3Ron Johnson. Rob, host of Locked On Gophers podcast. He's on X, by the way, at Gophers Kane Rob. Fellas, so much to get into after that one. But first, quick reminder, tonight's episode brought to us by FanDuel. Check this out. Place your first $5 bet. You're guaranteed $200 in bonus bets. Go visit FanDuel.com today to get started. Okay, guys, wow, what a thriller. It's still fresh. It's still raw. But Ron, help me recap, help me summarize what we just witnessed as the Gophers just stunned number 11 seed USC 24-17.
Well, first of all, I got to give a shout out to Justin Guard, because on today's pregame show, my X factor, which is I pick a guy every week to kind of that he either needs to be watched or monitored, and it was Miller Moss. And the Gophers did a great job. But Justin Guard said, I need a big game from Coy Parrish. I need a big play from Coy Parrish. And it happened. We didn't expect that to be the play, because assuming it was going to be a kick return, because he said kick return, punt return, blah, blah, ends up being the interception to end the game. One, to see number 3 make a big catch into the game. We've seen that before, probably just on the offensive side back in the day. We've seen Brian Cooper make some throws, but now Coy Parrish is donning the 3, playing safety. I got to give my hats off to that kid. He played well. And also, the world is on notice of Darius Taylor now. The entire world got to see a guy at one point, I think it was 200 yards of total offense for Darius Taylor. Majors, I think, had like 70-something, and the rest of the team had 92. That was crazy. And so Darius Taylor is just, he showed the world he is the guy. And so I wish that they had put it together in those 3 other games, because they were all winnable games, and this should be an undefeated team. If at worst, 5-1. This should be a 5-1 team, and that's what's so frustrating about losing some of those games.
Yeah, I want to talk about both those guys in depth here in a second, but Kane, just start here. Biggest takeaways. You were there tonight at Huntington Bank.
I was there.
Takeaways, kind of your 8 topics.
I was there.
Well.
I left.
Oh, Ron was there as well.
Yeah, I was on the sideline. Oh, yeah, I got
Ron
the sideline.
Didn't get to see the best part. He didn't get to see the best part.
I had to. Here's the thing. Like, I thought about, like, what do I have in the morning? Everybody knows I got Vikings duties in the morning.
Ron's got an early day.
I got to get up at 5:15 a.m. because I got to get over to the Vikings facility to get the show going at 6:50 a.m. So, right, exactly.
That's a veteran move right there. That's a guy who's been in the business a while.
6:50 a.m. start, which means I got to get in the building probably around 6:30, get my makeup, get my headset. I mean, I got the headset sitting here, my earpiece ready to go, because I'm like, you know what? I got to have everything ready to go in the morning. But yeah, I was there, and then right about 9 minutes in the fourth quarter, I'm like, you know what? When I'm done with the postcast tonight, I want to go right to sleep. And so that's why I went home. But yes, I got a chance to see me and Chris Altman-Bell. We hung out on the sideline for a little bit.
That's awesome.
I got a chance to talk to the coaches. I talked to a couple other former players that were down there. I got a chance to see PJ Fleck for a minute. And then, you know, but we were there like, I think 5. We got down there like 4 o'clock. So we had been down there hanging out with former Gophers, former athletes. So yeah, I was there. But then, yeah, I missed the crowd running to the field, because I just knew if I stayed, I would still be there this moment on the field.
Right,
I'd be trying to do the postcast from the field. Like, I'd have been on the field doing the postcast.
You'd be there right now. Well,
or in the locker room or something. I'd have been surfing with PJ Fleck.
I think it was a veteran move. London game tomorrow, once a year. Veteran move. Kane, you were there as well. Looked electric, especially at the end. But just start here. Biggest takeaways, kind of your 8 topics. Like, what's tomorrow's headline read in the paper after knocking off the 11 seed USC?
I mean, it's definitely Darius Taylor and Coy Parrish, like you both said. But I think the number one thing for me is that The number one pass defense in the nation proved that it wasn't just because they'd been playing bad passing offenses. They proved against a top 12 passing offense in the country. Miller Moss had his lowest passing yards on the season. He had his most interceptions on the season. So the Gophers pass defense showed it's legit, so you can put away the narrative of they haven't played anyone, and they are for real there. They need to improve on the rush defense still, but they did enough to hold it together and get the dub.
And one thing to say, though, you did mention something. They still were legit on third down. They were 7 for 11 on third down. And in my pregame show today, I broke down 3 Miller Moss offensive plays on the touchdown. You guys can ask Ricky Foggy. I'm going to have Ricky Foggy do a video. When they were in the red zone, when they lined up, I said, Foggy is about to be a fade to the slot receiver. The only reason is because I watched so much film. I'm like, this is what they do when they put that big number 2, Deuce Robinson, in the slot. They are going to try to see if there's a mismatch. They're going to him. Oftentimes, people doubled him with the safety, and then they went outside to Jacoby Lane. The Gophers opposite said, you know what, Jacoby Lane has 4 out of the 8 touchdowns. Let me pay attention to him a little bit more. And then they went to Deuce Robinson in the slot. So you're dead on, Rob. Like, this was a really good offense. They still did some good things, but the Gophers did more.
I'll tell you what, between Branch, Woody Marks in the backfield, Deuce Robinson, who you just called out, their leading receiver was Hudson, 5 catches, 54 yards. They got some dudes on that team, man. It's still fun. I'm still adjusting to some of these Pac-12 teams coming over to the Big Ten. You know, PJ takes so much heat. And, you know, I mean, hey, it's a cutthroat business and industry. We know that. But I feel like a lot of fans have been waiting for kind of this marquee, premium, blue chip type of win for PJ and company for a while now. It feels like, anyways. How huge was this win for morale, for confidence, for just overall momentum for this program to knock off that 11 seed like they did tonight, Ron? How huge is that moving forward into the second half of the season now?
It's huge. And I was down there for pregame, and so you saw a lot of recruits down there. You saw families. This was a recruiting trip that PJ had been planning from the start. We get USC. Let's get some kids in the building from the West Coast. Let's get some kids in the building from the areas that maybe thinking about, USC, Oregon, UCLA now. It was packed on the sideline pregame. And the fact that I saw so many recruits, so many parents, this is not only a good win for the team, but just for the recruiting aspect of it as well. And then fast forward, when you look at what people see now in this team, being a number 11 team, you got Alabama who lost to Vanderbilt. You got USC who loses to Minnesota. You look at the Michigan win over USC, and then you look at the way Minnesota lost to Michigan.
Right.
3-3 is just what you see when you finish the painting. But if you go back and look at all the ways, the colors to mix to get to that painting, there's going to be a lot of people now that say, well, if they beat UCLA and they go 4-3 and they go into the bye week, they're going to be like, man, this team probably could be Illinois. This team should be able to beat Rutgers. Like, you're going to look at these games, and now more and more people are going to like be really, trying to see where this Minnesota team can end up. Again, you still got some tough down the stretch games, but this is a huge win for them. Who cares about the world? For them as a team to lose the way they did the last three losses, North Carolina, Iowa, Michigan. And PJ said, I should have coached better in the second half against Iowa. I should have coached better in the first half against Michigan. Turnovers are not his fault. But that's why PJ Fleck continues to scream, ball is the program, ball security. Because even if you look at PJ's face when Darius Taylor tried to reach and get that touchdown, watch PJ's face. He's looking like, dude, you know better than that. Don't get greedy, because if a guy knocks the ball out your hand, we don't have a chance to get the tush push for the touchdown. And so that's where PJ's building this program. Hey, we're going to do it the right way. We want to win the right way. And I think this is a huge kind of push to go beat UCLA now and travel to California with a long flight back. You want to make that 4-hour flight back with a W.
You know what's crazy? It's only one game, but the difference between waking up tomorrow morning 2-4 versus just 3-3, it feels so night and day different to your point,
Huge.
Ron.
And the Vikings are about to wake up 5-0. So
can't find a loss.
Can't find a loss.
Can't find a loss.
You weren't on there Thursday, Luke. I did it for you. I was like, I'm gonna do my best Luke Inman. I did my best Luke Inman impression. I couldn't.
I love it.
Cheerio. I don't know if that's what they say in London. I couldn't find it over there either.
Yeah, I love it, man. Kane, we got 6 game sample size to work with Max Brosmer now. It's just so obvious now. It's just so clear as day. You don't need to be an expert. You watch him when he gets into a rhythm. Maybe it's just more tempo. I don't know. But when he gets warmed up, when he gets cooking, a few completions, tempo part of this whole equation, I think. He just looks like a Big Ten quarterback. 15 of 19 tonight. I know everyone's going to say he's not explosive, he's not aggressive downfield, but 8.9 yards per pass tonight. You'll take that every game. How much has he grown, do you think, through these first 6 games? And I guess, how encouraged are you for his future here in Minnesota moving forward?
Yeah, I mean, I think overall he's just shown you that he's getting more confident. He's getting more of a feel at this FBS and Power 4 level. And Lincoln Riley was super complimentary of him in his presser before this game, saying he knows he looks confident. He looks like he's built for this system. And I think we're starting to see that more and more. The thing is, he's also not a me player. He is going to do whatever is going to help this team get a dub. If it means he's only passing for 169 yards, that's fine. If it means he has to rush and tush push for 3 touchdowns, he's going to do what it takes. And I love some of the placement we're starting to see on some of his passes. There's a ball that he dropped into Lemecki Brockington. Lemecki's only catch of this game, but a huge one, 22 yards. The safety was coming down. The cornerback
the cover 2 versus the cover 2
yes,
hole, the honey pot.
And it looked great. It looked phenomenal. And that was a key moment in this game. But there's been 3 or 4 placement passes in each of these last few games that I'm just like very impressed with Max Brosmer, and I like to see it continuing to grow.
How about the timing of the quarterback option? Finally, he pulled. I feel like the entire fan base has been screaming at their TV all night, all year even. You got to run it. You got to keep it once in a while to keep defenses honest. Finally, at the perfect time, at the goal line, he finally keeps it, cashes in. We got to spend 2-3 minutes before we go to this first commercial break. Darius Taylor. The dude, I mean, how special is this guy? Only 9 games for him to reach 1,000 yards. There's only been one other Gopher in program history to hit that mark that quickly. Dude had 200 of the team's total 362 yards on the night. 200 of the total team's 362 yards. Ron, you played the game. You've been out on that field. You've seen a lot of elite premium talents come around this program at running back specifically. So how special is this kid?
To Corey Parrish?
No, DT, Darius Taylor.
Oh, Darius Taylor.
A lot of good running backs in Gophers program history.
I was actually tweeting my Corey Parrish tweet out because Corey Parrish, I got to tell him, number 3 is in great hands right now.
Yeah, we're going to talk Coy here.
But no, so DT, man, like, the one play, and I wish I knew exactly when it happened, but I think it was like when PJ, they were driving down in the 4th quarter to try to get that last touchdown. But it was like I think it was like a 2nd down or 1st and 10 play, and he hands it off to Darius Taylor. Looks like he's gonna go right, but he jump cuts and beats a guy, and then gets like 9 yards. I think that was like the first play when they were in the red zone. And Darius Taylor, like the fact that he jump cut and the guy missed, like didn't even touch him, steps over him, gets 9 yards, gets down to the, within 1 yard of the first down. And everybody just looked like, oh, this guy's good. Like he has ability last weekend to catch the ball 10 times. He's a former receiver playing running back. He doesn't have top end like Lawrence Maroney. Half those plays where Darius Taylor was in open field, Lawrence Maroney houses those. Like it's a different type of horsepower under the hood with Lawrence Maroney. Darius doesn't have that, but what he does have is open field ability to get you big plays. This kid is special, and I don't think we've even scratched the ceiling of what you can do with him when you think about actually running true routes, being like a Ricky Waters, being able to, LaShawn, Shady McCoy type stuff. Like he has that in him, and I think it's only a matter of time as PJ starts to unlock more and more. But like I said, to have 200 total yards at one point, and the rest of the team at 92 yards, like that's just beastly. That's beastly type of stuff.
That's beast mode. It feels like he's finally getting healthy here too. Kane, how huge is it for a guy like Max Brosmer to not only have him to lean on in the running game, but then coming out of the backfield, out of the flat, just knowing I just got to get this guy the ball, and he's probably going to move the chains more times than not. Help Max complete some easy passes as well. What do you think that does, I guess, for Max Brosmer's confidence, having a guy like DT in the backfield?
Yeah, I think it's sky high. I mean, you saw that today. You saw it last week when he had 10 receptions. I mean, he's just finding a way to get it done. And also a shout out to Marcus Major, who also had a few catches in the backfield as well. So I think that the Gophers are just showing they can really spread it around. They can use their running backs with versatility. And overall, that helps open the ground game for them too. We got a little bit more push from the offensive line today. So hopefully this thing can start clicking and start going. And like Ron said, these next few games going down the line can start to look real possible for a lot of these different matchups.
Yeah, well said there. Good breakdown. Plenty more deep dive, including a deep dive on the freshman phenom, Coy Parrish. That's all coming up right after this. Quick reminder, tonight's episode brought to us by FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, they got something for every NFL fan with a huge payout for every new customer with what I think is easily their best promotion of the season. And with FanDuel, when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, you can view live play-by-play, and so much more, all on the same page where you place your bets. Check this out. Right now, FanDuel's going to get you started with $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place your first $5 bet. That's $200 in bonus bets guaranteed with your first $5 bet. Go check it all out over at FanDuel.com today. Get in on some Vikes-Jets action while you're there. Early game in London, current spread, Vikes by 2.5, over-under sitting at 40.5. Go check it all out over at FanDuel.com. Again, check it all out over at FanDuel.com. Okay, guys, this defense, man, it got gashed coming out of halftime. Long drive for USC. They punched it in for a touchdown. You're thinking, oh, no, here we go again. But they showed up. They clamped down in a big way, I should say, after that. Huge turnover off that Joyner pressure, by the way. They turned that into a game-tying touchdown. Coy Parrish, game-sealing interception. Kane, what stood out the most to you defensively tonight versus USC?
I think overall it's just that the never give up mentality they play with. Like you said, there were multiple times where it just kind of got gashed. There was even a play, I believe, where I think the running back had broken. Oh, no, I'm wrong on that one. But regardless, they keep on going. They never give up. And I think that Coy Parrish is getting a lot more reps too. He's getting a lot more money downs, third and longs where they're getting him involved. So the sky's the limit. I mean, he could also get more involved as we continue to go down the line. And maybe we start to see even more confidence, even more swagger, and even more big time playmaking, play changing type efforts from the defense.
Yeah, Ron, I don't want to oversell this kid. I know it's early, but I think we may have a star in the waiting, in the wings on our hand with Coy Parrish. True freshman out there making splash plays left and right today. At safety, playing deep, playing in the box, playing a little nickel corner, game-sealing interception, laying the truck stick, man. Laying the hit stick, forced a huge fumble. He looks every bit the part of that five-star recruit that came in so heavily hyped. And the fact he's seen the field already. As a true freshman, Ron, again, you played the game. I mean, how much volumes does that speak when you see a true freshman out there playing Big Ten football?
Yeah, and so PJ Fleck told a story about when he scored 4 touchdowns when PJ was on a visit out to see him. And he said one of the touchdowns, he's running down the field, like talking to PJ, like basically like, yeah, I'm that guy. And he said the amount of swagger this kid had, he's like, man, he's legit. And the fact that he stayed loyal to Minnesota, even though Ohio State came in late, that speaks volumes to him as a kid, a character. And now he's going to be able to be like the next Tyler Nubin, you know, over the next 2 to 3 years, or Antoine Winfield, or go way back to Tyrone Carter. Like, he's going to be able to build that safety legacy that Minnesota's had, you know, since 1998. Like, every couple years, there's a new safety that comes in and you're like, oh, this kid's good. Oh, this kid's good. You know, you go back to corners with Brian Body Calhoun. You got, Howard, you know, he's in the league. Jordan Howard's in the league now.
Tyrone Carter,
you know, so you got Tyrone Carter, Jordan Howden, Antoine Winfield, Tyler Nubin. Now you have Coy Parrish, you have Green, you have Justin Wiley. Like, it's DBU on a lower scale. Of course, we don't have the national notoriety that some of these schools get, but they've been constantly putting guys in the NFL. And even Ethan Robinson said this. He said, that's why I picked Minnesota. When I chose Minnesota, I had them on Ron Johnson. Like, I looked at not just the defensive pedigrees and the safeties, but also looked at, you know, the entire defense. Like, look at all the defensive guys that went to the league: Carter Coughlin, Blake Cashman, Devondre Campbell. He was like, you know what? I wanted to be a part of that. And so that's why he picked Minnesota. And he had some big plays today as well, with some big hits and some big breakups. And so when you think about Coy Parrish, he's a star. He's literally a star. The key for him is going to be, one, he's going to have to get bigger and stronger. We know that comes with time, lifting weights, being in the college program. But also he's got to understand teams now, like, he wasn't going to play as much as he did today because Green got hurt. Like, he got hurt early on. It looked like a concussion from my point of view being on the sideline. So I'm guessing he's out maybe another week. So you're going to see probably a healthy dose of Corey Parrish against UCLA. And maybe this is a kid they're like, look, we're going to give him 4 games and then he's going to redshirt. Well, Redding gets hurt. Now Green gets hurt. So Corey Parrish has to not only do punts and kick returns, he also now has to play safety. So, I think he's ready for the moment. And again, if a kid's ready, you put him in there. You don't hold him back just because you want to hold him back for you. You let him play. And we know PJ's going to play him just like he did Darius Taylor.
Kane, coach's corner time. Give me one thing that stuck out to you the most in this game as far as one of the coaches go. PJ Fleck, offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator. One thing that you think kind of swung this game based off the coaches tonight. A challenge, a play called, you name it. PJ, there was 8 minutes left in the second quarter. It was 3rd and 2. USC had the ball. They got a first down, but they showed the replay. The dude was clearly a yard short. It wasn't even close. I was a little bummed that PJ didn't challenge that, but all in all, obviously it all worked out tonight. But just give me something from the coach's lens tonight you think that helped get the Gophers this dub.
I think it's definitely got to be the final touchdown. I mean, you could have settled. You could have taken a field goal. You could have, but you know what? He believed in the team. The tush push didn't get it the first time, and he was like, "We're going to do this thing again." And I was kind of hoping in the press box. I was like, "Go for it again." I mean, you can kick the field goal, but either way, they're gonna have to drive the whole field to try and score if you get a field goal, or if you don't get it, they have to drive the entire field from the 1. So like, if you risk it for the biscuit, all they can do is tie. And I love that he went for it because we're just not always used to seeing that aggressiveness. And now if they don't get it and all of a sudden it turns out a different way, I'm sure a bunch of fans are calling for his head. But he believed in the team. He believed in the quarterback. He believed in the situation. And I'm glad he was aggressive after it, and it flipped the game.
Ron, penalties are such a huge characteristic and kind of, identity of a team. Like, that's what you're going to be known for in some ways. Gophers under PJ, they talked about it on the broadcast, notoriously been one of the better teams in the country in that category pretty regularly, pretty consistently every season. Tonight, just 4 penalties. One of them was just right at the end of the game. So really 3 penalties for about 98% of the game. Compare that to USC's 8 penalties in a game this close. I mean, penalties is really going to have a huge difference in the final outcome. What does that say about the way PJ coaches this team up?
Well, he's always been like every year when we did stats for PJ Fleck, he's always done a great job with like procedural penalties, stupid penalties. Like he always talks about that. Like 1, the program is the ball. 2, you have to be accountable to your teammates because you let them down with penalties. You can't jump off sides and you can't, vice versa. The brandishing the weapon thing, that's a new thing because I know week 1, I think a player did it. It blew up on social media. Everybody's like, "Oh, that's cold. Like he just told the dude I'm strapped." Like, so instead of like actually putting on the seatbelt and you strapping somebody, now you're like, "I'm strapped, bro. Like I got that on me." Come on, ref. Like, you cannot throw a flag for brandishing a weapon that is not a weapon. Like, I got abs. Like,
and in that moment, too, man. You're
right.
so right.
So I get it. They had been told, I think it was like a week ago, they were told to keep an eye on brandishing a weapon because now we see like guys doing this, like the whole like shooting a machine gun thing. I just saw that guy for, I think it was USC or Vanderbilt, Alabama. Somebody did one, but they did it to the quarter. Like they shot up the quarterback. So there's all kinds of gun references now the refs are supposed to keep an eye on. But at the end of the day, like, come on, like just lifting your shirt up to say it's on me, like, come on. But, so that's one. And then what's crazy is I love this. Justin Wiley had another breakup after that, and he just put his hands behind his back. Like, all right, I just got him in handcuffs. I'm not going to do nothing else. So it's okay to get arrested and go to jail. I got you locked up, but you can't show me that you got a gun. It ain't really there because we know you don't have a gun because you're playing football. But anyway, these refs, I get it. But penalties wise, PJ's always been one of the least penalized teams. I think he kind of like lays his hat on that. Like my guys are going to be coached up well. They're not going to do stupid stuff. They're not going to get procedural penalties, and they're definitely not going to get like after the whistle penalties. Like like if you watch when the I forgot what happened, but something happened. Oh, after the Corey Parrish interception, somebody took their helmet off. They got a flag. PJ like ran down the field to the other side because there was another like thing going on over here because another guy was talking to the ref and he's like telling everybody, back up. I got this. You stay away. So he does not want additional penalties or anything coming down on his team. So they do try to lean on that.
Yeah, well said there for sure. Don't go anywhere. One more quick segment. Got to talk about the upcoming schedule. Got UCLA on deck. That's all coming up right after this. Quick reminder, tonight's episode also brought to us by Prize Picks. Prize Picks, America's #1 fantasy sports app with more than 3 million members to date. And for me and my money, it's just by far the easiest. It's the most exciting way to get in on all the action while you watch your favorite sports and you watch your favorite players. So simple. All you got to do, you pick more or less on 2 or more player stats. You watch the winnings roll in. Football season still in full swing, so whether it's anytime touchdowns, receptions, tackles, sacks, you name it, they got it. Take your pick on more or less. Add them to your Prize Picks entry today. This week, I like Jalen Nailor, over 11.5 receiving yards versus the Jets. That just feels way too low for the Vikings' #3 option. Plus, they now offer Apple Pay, quick and easy deposits into your account all season long. Download the Prize Picks app. Use code LOCKEDONNFL for $50 instantly with any $5 wager. Okay, quick sneak peek. Back on the road versus UCLA next week. UCLA, man, they can be had. They're struggling right now. Granted, they've played some serious powerhouses already. Oregon, LSU, lost to Penn State today, 27-11. So probably can't chalk it up as any gimme game either. They always got some good weapons as well, too. Ethan Garber's senior quarterback. They're always loaded with a couple 4- and 5-star talents up and down the board as well. But, Ron, just what's, one or two top of the things come to mind when you think about Gophers, UCLA, that matchup next week? What do the Gophers got to do to build on what they already did well tonight?
I don't know if you saw. So I stopped watching the UCLA game. I think it was like 3-20 something or something. Like they were getting absolutely murdered.
Yeah, it was rough.
Deshaun Foster, that's my dude. So I'm never going to talk bad about his staff. Like that's my guy. I'm trying to get him on the show this week. He's been on the show already once, so I'm gonna try to get him on. We'll see if he wants to join us this week. But I don't think this is going to be close. Like, I don't really think it should be close. I think the Gophers should go in there and just utilize Darius Taylor nonstop. UCLA, so for people that don't know, because we know Deshaun Foster got up there and said, if you don't know, UCLA's in LA. So they're in LA. But they also lost their starting quarterback. The starting quarterback took NIL dollars and went to Oregon to be a backup, to be ready to fill in for Dylan Gabriel when he goes to the NFL. And so the fact that happened, now you're starting a quarterback who, you probably wouldn't have chosen if your quarterback hadn't left. And he didn't leave like after the season was over. He waited through the summer, and then Oregon's like, hey, man, we'll give you a bag. You're going to be the heir apparent backup, and we got this. We're building. So he leaves. UCLA is struggling. They don't have a true quarterback right now. They don't have a true identity right now. Deshaun Foster is trying to recruit and do what he did when he played, which is big linemen, running backs, 1 receiver, and then 2 big tight ends. They have to start from scratch. And so now the fact that they're building, because Brian Kelly, I think, was there, totally different mindset of a team now. So they're in a rebuilding year. So I really think the Gophers should go in there, and it shouldn't be close.
Yeah, Kane, same question. Huge opportunity to kind of rack up back-to-back dubs now before your bye week. Top of your head, a storyline, a matchup, an X factor, just when you think of UCLA versus the Gophers on the road in California. When you see that written down on paper, what do you think of first?
I think this is one that the Gophers have to go in, storm, and take it over. I mean, this was a game that I had circled as like a win for the Gophers in my predictions. I also had guessed that UCLA was probably going to be towards the bottom of the conference. So it's looking that way right now. And like, this is one of those games, you can't fall into the trap. You can't look ahead. You can't look towards bye week and getting healthy or anything like that. Like, take care of business, because we've seen too many ups and downs in Gopher seasons where we're always that one game where we dropped it to a team we shouldn't have. I'm thinking of Northwestern last year and how they stormed back. It's just like, go take care of business. Go do it in California. This is a cool road trip for your team that you haven't really gotten in Big Ten conference play, that now that them being a new school, USC being a new school, go take care of business. And like Ron said, this UCLA team's quarterback room is a mess too. Their starter, who's been starting the last few games, was hurt for today's game, so he also didn't play. So if that continues, you really should be able to take advantage with having the #1, maybe, or top 5 pass defense in the country.
All right, last one here, fellas. Then we'll get out of here. Kind of rapid fire. Ron, Alabama was stunned today. After that, just crazy back and forth Georgia game last week, too. Go figure.
Wait, and Michigan lost to Washington?
Michigan
Oh,
lost to
goodness.
Washington. Obviously, Gophers just knocked
Minnesota
off
should have beat
USC.
Michigan. The refs cheated.
That was rough. Yeah, it still stings, man. People are still scarred. I pull up the Big
They
Ten.
apologize to the Gophers now, and they're going to put a referee. PJ said they're going to put a referee now on that line to make sure the glass of window pane isn't broken.
Just to make sure. It's funny.
Like now you want to put a ref there.
Now you do, of course. Yeah. You pull up the Big Ten standing. It's so weird to see Indiana at the top, 6-0. But just give me something that stuck out today, whether it's week 6 or just 6 weeks into the college football season thus far. What's sticking out to you right now thus far through this 2024 start?
You want to go with me first?
Yeah, go ahead, Ron.
Or Rob? No, so for me, what's sticking out is that football, you really don't know any given Saturday what's going to happen. I will say this, Ohio State is really good. Like, they got some weapons. That receiver, good. Smith, oh my God. The one-handed catch, he stiff-armed the guy from Iowa out of bounds and said, wait a minute, I got to catch something real quick. Hold on. And caught it with one hand. Like, nuts. Absolutely nuts of a catch. Like, as a receiver, I was like, oh, okay, I got goosebumps. I will say this, though, too, in the Big Ten, the biggest difference in what I'm learning is if you still want to run the ball on the Pac-12 teams that have joined, you can run the ball on them. And that's the big difference is Michigan losing to Washington. That's kind of the get back game. Michigan's quarterback can't throw the ball. Washington figured that out. Let's force him to throw the ball. Let's put, I said this on the pregame show. I said, if Washington is smart, they're going to put 8 guys in the box and say, we're going to go 0 and we're going to man up your 2 receivers. Let's see if your quarterback can throw the ball. Michigan proved to us they can't throw the ball, and so they got to have to go find a new quarterback, which I think they did. I haven't really watched all the stuff, but I heard there was another quarterback.
They put the backup in. Yeah.
So I was heard there was another quarterback that came in.
Penix's backup in.
Yeah.
Back from Indiana days.
Yeah, so that's where it's crazy. It's like you look at what Michigan has, and some people say this kid, like he might be the quarterback now.
Yeah.
But Orji can't throw the ball. So Washington did with if I was the Gophers, same thing. He threw for 32 yards. I would have put 8 in the box and say, you beat us. I got 2 of the best cornerbacks I think we have out here, which is Ethan Robinson. Not having Justin Wiley makes it tough, but who cares? This kid can't throw. Make him throw the ball. And so you just don't know right now with the Big Ten what you're going to get. The Gophers could literally, so I looked at this other part of the Big Ten. When you look at their schedule and what's coming up, the Gophers have a chance to win probably the next 2 to 3 games before they have to get some more juggernaut games. 6-6, I think, is a letdown of a season. Sure. I think they need to find a way to win more games. They should be able to beat Wisconsin. So we'll see. But my shock about the Big Ten is it's not what we thought it was going to be. Like, I thought it was going to be Michigan, Ohio State at the end. Clearly, it's not anymore. It's Ohio State show.
Yeah, so well said for sure. Yeah, you go beat UCLA. You're 4-3 coming out of the bye. Maryland, Illinois, Rutgers, Penn State. Okay, a tough one, and then the Axe versus Wisconsin in Wisconsin.
They should be able to win. Honestly, 5 out of the next 6.
Yeah, Penn State.
The way they play.
Like
Penn State is. Penn State's a tough one. Penn State's a tough one. They're good. You got to play the best game of your life to beat Penn State. But Rutgers, Illinois, Maryland, and Wisconsin are beatable.
Yeah, and UCLA next week. Yeah, sometimes all it takes is one
game
like this.
If they do go 5-1, the back half, they're going to kick themselves in the butt when they realize, I can't believe we lost to Iowa and Michigan.
Yeah, no kidding.
Not Iowa. Sorry, not Iowa. Michigan and North Carolina. Iowa was a loss.
Yeah. Kane, last one, rapid fire. Just something that's sticking out, whether it's this week, Alabama getting knocked off, or just in general through 6 weeks college football landscape. What do you got?
I'll say 2 things. I'll say Kurt Signetti called his shot. He said, Google me. And now his team is 6-0. They're the first team to qualify for a bowl game. Mad props. I'm going to give him love on that one. But then also Rutgers looks beatable after today. Nebraska beat them in an ugly game, 14-7, but Ethan looks like what he looked like here with the Gophers. And if you can get pressure on him, he makes bad decisions, he throws interceptions, and their running back is the real deal. So the Gophers are going to have to clean up the run defense by the time we get to him. But like Ron said, you can actually compete with Rutgers, with Illinois, with Maryland, and with UCLA. That's 4 games right there. And then Wisconsin also is up, down, and who knows what's happening there. Their starting running back
Yeah.
just left the program. So overall, there's 5 games that the Gophers should be in the fight for and can change the narrative.
Well said, guys. Gophers knock off the 11-seeded USC. Final score tonight, 24-17. They jump back up to 3-3. Plenty to pick apart all week long. UCLA up next. West Coast game, so we got a late one kickoff, not until 8 p.m. Central up on the Big Ten Network. Huge shout out to all the everydayers out there that always make us your first listen. Make sure you go check out all Ron's work on X at 3Ron Johnson. Plus, you got to check him out on the Ron Johnson Show each and every Tuesday. Kane Rob on Locked On Gophers. Give him a follow. He's at Gophers Kane Rob. Remember to follow all the action right here on the Locked On Sports Minnesota Network. Go like this video. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. I'm Luke Inman on X at Luke_Spinman. We'll see you in a week versus UCLA. But until then, signing out.